PlayStation 3 is one of the outstanding consoles, and although it was released back in 2006, it can still surprise you with a decent library of exclusive games. And in the number of unique projects, perhaps no other competitor was able to bypass the Sony console. The games presented below are still relevant today. Most of them have not been remastered for consoles of the new generation and can make you think about buying one. You are on ABR Games and we have prepared for you 10 best exclusive PlayStation 3 games. Let's begin. Our number 10 is Infamous 2, which tells about the amazing adventures of courier Cole McGrath, who after an accident became a battery man. He turned out to be in the epicenter of the explosion of a device that gives people with a special gene an unusual superpower and kills ordinary people. He managed to survive, as he was the carrier of a special gene. Also, Cole acquired the ability to control electricity. Gameplay is based on this ability, with the electricity being the only available weapon. In the sequel, Cole prepares for a meeting with his antipode named the Beast. To do this, he goes to the city of the New Mar to consult with a certain Professor Wolf. The game combines elements of action, RPG and platformer, and also provides solid graphics and cool music. Our number 9 is God of War 3. God of War is a game based on an ancient Greek and Scandinavian mythology. The main character is the Spartan warrior Kratos, who challenged the gods. In Part 3, Kratos, together with the Titans, climbs on the Olympus, but he fails to complete the ascent, so the gods of the Olympus still have enough strength to withstand the ghost of Sparta. They drop him from the Olympus to the very depths, to the entrance of the kingdom of Hades. Kratos is forced to start a new ascent, simultaneously gathering new forces for revenge. He will have to kill the remaining gods and put their forces together to kill Zeus and save humanity. His guide was Athena, who acquired a new essence, sacrificing herself for the sake of Zeus. According to her, now Athena realized that as long as Zeus is alive, people have no hope. Kratos must destroy the flame of Olympus, which is the source of Zeus' strength. They also want to save humanity. Crazy gameplay, inexpressible battles with gods, an incredible end will be remembered for a long time. Number 8 is the game Demon's Souls. Now it seems that the Souls series have always been with us. Fires, rolls, creepy bosses, an atmosphere of despair and the infamous "You died" signature inscription on the full screen. However, in 2009, all this was still a novelty. An interesting period when everyone seems to have already forgotten about the hardcore games with 8 or 16-bit consoles, but they were not ready for the new tests. Demon's Souls knocked the spirit out of everyone, and social networks were flooded with rage reviews about the most difficult game of all time. And what's important here is not only that Hidetaka Miyazaki received carte blanche after that and started on Dark Souls, but also the fact that all other developers understood that the story can be built not only through videos and cutscenes. The plot and lore are well revealed through the environment, descriptions of in-game items and the conjectures of players. Then there were Lordran, Drangling and Yarnum, but it all began in a kingdom of Boletaria. The better start of this series is hard to come up with. At the 7th place we have Killzone 3, which from the very first frames is trying to reinvent the beloved Call of Duty Modern Warfare, being more beautiful, more expensive and with normal body physics. The game dynamics evolve for a couple of hours, during which we will manage to make a short visit to the Helghast's base, taking a ride on an armored vehicle and tank several times, and also admire the nuclear mushroom the size of the entire horizon. Here the most important difference from the unsuccessful second part becomes noticeable. The team finally realized the importance of a normal, coherently narrated scenario. The universe of the game has at least some volume, and the main enemies, the Helghasts, have become almost tragic characters. The game finally reached the level of the graphics before the sensational CG movie from E3 in 2005, and it seems really squeezes out all the juice from the PlayStation 3. It's not even about the scenery, which is quite standard, but about the war itself. It rumbles, shoots, flashes, sparkles, smokes, shoots rockets, and the battlefield falls asleep in the snow, which should become the only consolation for the owners of 3D TVs. Sony's other current gadget, the PlayStation Move, was in a somewhat better position. Killzone 3 is the first hardcore game that can be completed with the help of the new touch controller. Playing with it can be surprisingly comfortable. This, of course, is far from a mouse. But by adjusting a little and finding a comfortable spot, you can pretty well shoot hellghasts. In general, the game competed with Halo and Gears of War, and we recommend you play it. Number 6, we have Metal Gear Solid 4 – Guns of the Patrons. Each part of the Metal Gear made by Kojima was the last. He never wanted to make a sequel, and over the years his desire to work on the franchise only faded away. For a while, the Japanese even naively thought that he could leave Metal Gear. Didn't work out. But now Metal Gear Solid 4 is really the last one. It marked a beautiful ending in the fate of the heroes and villains, adequately completed the global history and remained true to itself. As before, it was the most beautiful game of its time. Kojima again surprised everyone with the crazy production of the cutscenes. He refined the formula of stealth over the years and added an element of military action. Snake often had to hide in the midst of the chaos of battles and use the war to his advantage. However, there were some controversial issues. Convenient control and gentle alarm system allowed to pass the game with a greater share of action. Cutscenes could last for an hour and a half, and the total mass took half of the time to pass. Not everyone liked the pathos with which the game sent Snake to rest. In Metal Gear Solid 4, fatigue is felt, but the game didn't lose its grip. They knew how to challenge and surprise with unusual, unique decisions. The game knew how to laugh and move, and as always, the game sold consoles. Many bought PlayStation 3 just for the sake of the Guns of the Patriots. Our number 5 is Resistance 3. Our top continues with the story of alternative historical America of the 50s in the 20th century. The country and the whole world are in ruins. People are on the verge of extinction, and it seems that for them there is no hope, and the future belongs to the nightmarish race of chimeras. The action takes place in 1957, 4 years after the completion of the events of the second part of the series, when Lieutenant Nathan Hale died in battle with the chimeras, and Joseph Capelli was mistakenly accused of killing him and dismissed from the US military. Only 4 years have passed, but the chimeras have already almost completely occupied the Earth, methodically exterminating surviving people or subjecting them to mutations, and it seems nothing prevents their full and final triumph. Capelli left hope and found a safe shelter when he and his family could live their remained years. Nevertheless, everything indicates that he will not succeed in this either. The Earth's climate is irresistibly changing, and soon the planet will simply become unfit for human life. Therefore, when Dr. Fyodor Malikov comes to him and proposes a plan that allows him to deliver a crushing blow to the chimeras, Capelli agrees and sets off on a long and dangerous journey to a place that was once New York. In addition to the epic single-player campaign, Resistance 3 has a number of well-thought multiplayer modes. You can go through a single-player campaign in cooperative mode, either with split screen or over the network, or you can take part in multiplayer battles that support up to 16 players. Our number 4 is Gran Turismo 5 and 6. Gran Turismo can be treated differently, but it remains the most important and influential auto simulator not only on the PlayStation, but throughout the industry. It was Gran Turismo which showed how to make a career in races correctly. It was this game which set the standards for realistic car behavior over and over again. Kazunori Yamauchi and his colleagues love car culture with all their hearts, and this is immediately noticeable. Until the technology of laser scanning appeared, they traveled to the Nürburgring to manually measure the angles of turns, the slope of the carousel and the draw of the graffiti. That's why Gran Turismo 5 is a game about love for cars. You can even feel on the gamepad the difference between different models of the BMW M3 and learn the basics of driving. But at the same time, it's pleasant to take care of the car, wash it, change the oil, and take pictures against the background of blossoming sakura. That's why Gran Turismo 6 is a game about love of automotive culture in general. It's possible to do the same things in it as before, and as usual, even on the gamepad to feel how the car loses adhesion to the track surface. At the same time, to compete on the Moon Rover, participate in the Godwood Festival, repeat the main stages of Ayrton Senna's career, and test prototypes of cars that the automakers created specifically for the game. Our top 3 begins with Uncharted 2, Among Thieves. This series is one of the best-selling and frequently mentioned in the history of the PlayStation 3 console. The game was released in 2009, but still remains one of the most leading games that were released almost at the start of this console. The very plot of the game tells us that you start your game as a very charismatic traveler. You will follow in the footsteps of Marco Polo himself, in search of a mystical and mysterious place, Shambhala. And everyone thought that Uncharted 2 was designed to set a new standard for the adventure games. So perfect was the combination of funny shootouts, puzzles, location explorations, and plot about the treasure hunter Nathan Drake, in Hollywood frivolous and thoughtful. But 8 years passed and it became clear that no standard had happened. Uncharted 2 is such a neat work that not only third-party developers, but also Naughty Dog themselves couldn't repeat the success anymore. Both subsequent parts are not so cool after all, and The Last of Us is already in a different category. Perhaps this is for the better. This is the direct evidence that magic exists and cannot be stamped. Number 2. Simply brilliant and matchless Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain was released exclusively on the PlayStation 3 in 2010 and almost immediately became a console seller. Its genre can be defined as an interactive movie, gameplay to play for several characters, which allows you to follow the development of the plot from different points of view. Each decision can bring irreversible consequences and directly affect the final story. By the way, because of the similar variability in the game, it's just indecent to have a huge number of possible different endings. At one time, Heavy Rain along with the Uncharted series gave the necessary impetus to the PlayStation 3, along with the Japanese, to reverse the course of the confrontation of the leading Xbox 360, and that time began an aggressive expansion of the console market, leaving all efforts to produce quality exclusives. In many ways, thanks to Heavy Rain, the absolute hegemony of Sony is observed today in the gaming industry, which can even afford to ignore the E3 exhibition. Although Heavy Rain was not the first game in its genre, and an ideal game for everyone, it definitely became a milestone in the history of interactive entertainment and passed the test of time. Well, on top of our list is the game for which gamers from all over the world bought consoles and with great delight followed the insanely touching story of a smuggler Joel and teenage girl Ellie. The Last of Us has consistently experienced all the syndromes of the iconic game, which tends to be what millions of people are playing. But apart from all this fuss with greatness and fall greatness, even tens of years after its release, when all its mechanics are out of date, The Last of Us will remain in history thanks to its incredible storyline. For more than a dozen hours, Naughty Dog skillfully introduced the player along with the main character into a very specific and difficult to reproduce state of passion, which shoots the end with the incredible power. The real final boss to The Last of Us is actually the player himself, who inwardly cracks when he realizes that between love and common sense he needs to choose love. Therefore, immediately after the completion of this game, everything seems a bit different. We deliberately didn't include a huge number of games because they are multi-platform, and we decided to release a separate top best games for the PlayStation 3 that have ever been released for this console. Subscribe to our channel, share your thoughts, and don't forget to click thumbs up. Thanks for watching.